Hello.
Howdy.
Welcome, everybody. Oh boy, it is getting nippy out.
Yeah,
It is.
My son just opened the door and brought up a bunch of cold air and gave me the chills.
Yeah.
It's in the teens here right now. Tomorrow's high is only supposed to be 20, what, 27, 28?
Yeah, something like that.
That's pretty cold for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll just get right to it. Go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your channel a little bit. Let everybody know who you are.
All right. Well, so we're True Grit Appalachian Ways. We're in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains here in North Carolina. And we both grew up very old fashioned. We're in a very rural area. And that's just something we've been passionate about, I guess, pretty much our whole lives. And just got to, actually, I was talking to a girl at work about 5 years ago, and she's like, you know what? You really need to document this stuff and put this stuff out there for other people to see, because people don't live like that anymore. And that's kind of how we started the YouTube channel. And we do a lot of gardening. We raise about 80 to 90% of our own food. We just buy our wants pretty much from the grocery store, not necessarily our needs. I got a milk cow. We raise all of our own meat, all of our own vegetables, so on and so forth. So we just document all that and want to share with people how you can do that as well. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how to put this. Sometimes it's not as hard as it seems. So we try to show people that you can do this.
Yeah, I like one thing that you say is, it might not be the way it's supposed to be done, but that's the way we do it, and it works.
That's right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the way I say a lot of stuff, because you know how the YouTube comments work. Somebody's going to tell you a different way or tell you done it wrong or whatever, but that's exactly why we say that, because it's how we do it and it works for us.
Yeah, it may not work for everybody, but it works for us. So
yeah. Now, one thing, my friend Bear Truth is in the channel here. He's the one that showed me your channel, and one of the first videos I seen of you guys were out there with the harvesting the corn.
Yeah,
and you were talking about that your kids help you, which I love your son driving around and on the tractor and stuff like that. and I might say he's probably a better cameraman than half of YouTube.
He loves it, and he's our biggest critic.
Yeah, he absolutely eats it up. He's matter of fact, he's watching this interview right now up in his room.
Yeah, he's having a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll sit there, and because a lot of times people will try to show what they're doing, and the camera will be way over here somewhere. Yeah. He actually shows what you're working on. Yeah. Like he already knows what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, he does pretty good with that.
Yeah, I was when you were fixing the fence.
Yeah.
Every time you would take one of them clips off, he was right there showing them.
Yeah. He already knew what he's supposed to do, and I didn't even have to tell him that. He just done it.
Yeah. And again, when you say that your kids work on the farm with you, or the homestead, or whatever you call it, today that's you very, very seldom see that. Nowadays, everybody's inside looking on the phone and not learning anything, or learning the wrong things.
Yeah. Right.
And it's very seldom you see that going on these days.
We try to kind of make that a point around here. Is, our kids do get on some electronic devices or whatever on occasion, but we try to absolutely,
we don't really have
limit
here
that
besides the computer
as much as we can. Yeah. Like they don't have tablets. They don't have phones, but they don't have tablets. They don't have, iPads, nothing like that. And honestly, they only get to watch just an hour of TV a day, maybe.
Yeah.
And
but I mean, they don't really.
But they don't beg for it either. They want to be outside,
even though it's been cold outside. Like the last few days, like they just wrap up and they're gone. They're gone. They're still outside. So.
Just
they go stir crazy in the house.
Was it yesterday or day before when they went down to the creek?
It was yesterday.
Yeah, they just took off down to the creek, which is not close to the house.
Well,
it's a good
down through the woods.
It's a good little ways down there, and they went down there. They were playing. The dog went
not
with
in
them,
the creek. There's a big sandbar. They were playing in the sand.
Yeah, and then they come back. But they're very good at finding things to keep them occupied. They don't walk around telling me they're bored or nothing like that. They're always have the creativity.
If they tell me they're bored, I'll tell them. I'll make sure real quick they're not going to.
That's true.
Yeah, I always got put to work when I said I was bored.
Yeah, that's right.
You bored now? No. Yeah, a lot of what you guys do kind of reminds me of when I grew up with my grandpa. I didn't get to stay with him too much, but when I did, we didn't have electricity, no water, running water, anything. He cooked on a wood stove, and that's how he lived. I mean, we had the outhouse and everything. It was, and he did a garden, and the garden was huge, but it was for the neighbors and stuff that was around.
Yeah.
Which you couldn't see a neighbor, but they came around and done stuff like when you have harvesting the hogs.
Mm-hmm.
When people came together for that, and that's what I remember. And like, you just don't see that anymore.
Right.
You really don't. You don't see communities come together like they used to. Your neighbors were more than just your neighbors. They were also your family. And you don't see that not near as much as you used to. It's still pretty common here. I mean, all the neighbors around here, they all, they get together and they do their things. They help each other. But it's not like it used to be.
Right.
Yeah. Like you were going to, I don't know if it was your sister or sister-in-laws or aunts or somebody's to get hay.
Yeah. That's my great aunt's place where we got the hay.
Great aunt. Okay.
Yeah, she lets us keep up that farm, and in turn we get to keep the hay, get the hay off of it. So
that place over there.
Up here you don't see that.
Really?
And I'm up in Ohio, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Up here you don't see that. They would charge you to do something like that, or there has to be money involved in it. Even family members. It's a whole different ball game up here.
Well, there's still a lot of that here. Matter of fact, her daddy's got a lot of cattle, and he's got how many farms? Three or four nice farms. But there's no money exchange. In turn, he keeps the farm up.
Yep.
They're older people's farms who ain't able to take care of them anymore, and they just want to see it continue on as a farm and not grow up, and the fields grow up and everything. And so in return, that's, his end of the deal is keeping everything managed.
Yeah. So I guess, I guess that's something YouTube has showed us too, and meeting people from other places. Cause we don't get out a lot, and meeting all these people from other places. You do realize how much that doesn't go on anymore like it does around here, because like even back in the summer, we had like an overabundance of tomatoes. We were blessed with like so many tomatoes. My tomato plants, I've never seen such in my life. And we gave away, I bet, 55-gallon buckets. Yeah. That's probably exaggerating, but a lot. You know, we were calling everybody and their brother around here saying, please just come down here and get you some tomatoes. You
there were several that picked so many tomatoes that they were done with it. Like, we don't want to see any more tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, my tomatoes did really good. I'm unfortunately, I live in a city, so I have just a little bit of space where I can do a garden. And I, off of 2 plants, Roma tomatoes, I ended up with 3 5-gallon buckets.
Wow, that's awesome. That's pretty good. It must have been a good tomato year. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I really didn't do much to them. They just grew like crazy. And it's weird how sometimes that works.
That's right. Yep. One year you have overabundance, and one year you're fighting to get any.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the cannon part comes in.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
They always say if you have a good harvest, you need to make sure you preserve that good harvest, because you never know when you're not going to have a good harvest.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times I talk a lot about prepping and stuff. And I've had countless people tell me they don't want to watch gardening because they want to watch prepping. I'm like, that is prepping.
Right.
Yeah,
they go hand in hand. Yep.
See, that's kind of like, I never really call anything we do exactly prepping, but when you think about it, technically just about everything we do is prepping, because we're making sure we've got enough to get by till we have more.
Right.
Yeah.
And we always want extra. Yep.
Yeah, I think the whole, and I like I never said I like the word prepping, but the whole prepping thing came. I think it's more like us, the city folk, prepping stuff in their house.
Right.
Homesteaders, and they've been doing this from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nothing new. It's surviving.
And one thing, like, is talking about prepping, one thing me and Andy always like to say is like the ultimate preparedness as far as food goes. We think anyway, we kind of joke about this, but if you have room to put an animal like a cow or a pig or something, like right there, live on foot. If you get hungry, right there it is. You know, you ain't got to store it. You ain't got.
It don't go bad. All you have to do is feed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got some. The only thing I'm allowed to have in the city is rabbits. I can't say I'm going to do anything with them rabbits because I got a lot of people that will get mad at me for eating my rabbits, but they're not pets. One of the things I like watching is when you make your lard.
I make a lot of lard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my main thing that I cook with, that and butter, and that's about it. So.
Oh yeah. And also when you guys made the bacon, a lot of times you don't see, people packing the stuff in. A lot of times it's just in a smoker. They don't see it packing the salt and all that stuff.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious. In your comments, did you get a lot of people thinking that the ham and stuff was rotten because of the way it looks?
We had like 2 comments.
We had some interesting
comments. But we had 2 that were just, kind of like, that's nasty. We're not eating that. Yeah, but other than that, we had a lot of curious comments, I guess you would say. People asking questions. And then we had a ton of comments of people saying, oh, I remember growing up and we did hams that way, I mean, that's what the majority of the comments were.
Then we had a few that said we should be ashamed because we ruined the
prosciutto. Yeah,
and I was like, that's not what we're trying to make.
But it's not the same thing. And I had to clarify that in a couple of comments because people were, I don't know, they almost acted like they were getting mad, telling me that it was prosciutto or prosciutto, however you say it. But I mean, I actually, just to make sure that I was right before I went back to correct them, I mean, I typed it in Google. I'd done a bunch of research on it and everything to make sure that they weren't the same thing, which I didn't. I was like 99% sure they weren't. And so I did look up the exact differences and everything. And so, of course, I had to go back and, you know, my reply was telling them that it's not the same thing as prosciutto. But I'd say the majority of the comments were good comments on that video. And that video is still gaining views, right? I mean, it's really taken off in the past week or so.
What's funny is, you know, used to back in the day around here anyway, people used to hide their country hams and they wouldn't tell people where their country hams were because people would go around and steal them. And so now we laugh and joke and we're like, somebody stole one of these things now, they wouldn't never know.
Well, no, we laugh
at
it.
Probably throw it out the window.
And too, if you know, if some of the people nowadays were to open the door on the barn and see hams hanging there, they wouldn't even know what they were looking at. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But we wanted to show, we wanted to show people, you know, that's what it actually looks like, you know, if you do it the old fashioned way, which is the way they do it was your great grandpa.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. It's just been passed down for years. Yeah. But a funny story real quick while we're talking about hams. My uncle used to have a grading business and he had a bunch of employees. And there's a place here in North Carolina who does country hams similar to the way we do it, but you know, they can legally sell those country hams because they've went through the USDA inspection and all that. So he calls up there and orders like, I mean, it was a bunch of hams, just like 50 hams, and sent them to every single employee of his. And over half of his employees threw that ham away when they got it because they thought they were rotten, you know, because they looked just like ours did when they opened it up. And they were like, yeah, you know, he asked them after Christmas and everything. He said, well, how'd y'all like your Christmas present? Like, man, that thing was rotten. We threw them away. They didn't know. They didn't know any different. And he was like, he started like panicking. You know, you didn't throw that away, man. But I don't know. I always think that's a funny story to tell because it's, you know, that's a sign right there that it's a dying thing. You know, when people don't know that that's what it's supposed to look like. Right.
Yeah. But if you weren't raised around it, then. Oh
yeah, I mean, if I hadn't been raised around it, I would have probably opened it up myself and been like, that ain't no good. So I mean, I'm not knocking anybody for not knowing, so don't take it that way. But
that's why we made the video.
Yeah, that's exactly the whole point of the reason we made the video is because we wanted people to see what they really do look like.
Yeah, everybody's so used to the normal way of what bacon's supposed to look like now. Mm-hmm. It's all this, or ham rather, but mainly bacon. I can imagine. Did you get comments about the bacon too?
They were mainly, we got mainly good comments. I had a few people tell me I was slicing it too thin. And I said, well, that's the beauty of doing your own. You can slice it as thick or as thin as you want. But no, we got a lot of good feedback on the bacon. And now it took us a little while. That was not something that was really passed down. It took us a few years to kind of get those ratios right. Because we usually make what they call fatback out of that piece of the pig.
Yeah, we would just salt it down and it would just be salted. And
then we decided a few years ago, we're like, why don't we make bacon? We got all these pigs and we don't make bacon.
Yeah, so up until like, I don't know, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's probably about when we started.
We had never made bacon, ever. And as far as I know, nobody in my family had ever made bacon. And so we just decided to try it one day. And I was like, well, why don't we do it kind of like we do our hams with the brown sugar and the salt? And, I'll just put some extra brown sugar to make it more sweet. And so what really the kicker on that was we had to figure out the amount of time it needed to sit because we let some go for a couple of weeks one time.
No, it was like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks. We let it sit for 3 weeks and it was still good, but it got really salty. and it was almost to the point it was so salty that you couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
And that was even after washing it off before smoking it.
And it didn't cook right.
Yeah, the texture of it changed after sitting that long. So we found that doing it the way we do it, about a week and a half is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I had a way to cold smoke it. I did have a lot of comments saying I needed to cold smoke it, but right now all I have is that little master built smoker. And the lowest it'll go is lowest it'll go on low is like 200 degrees, which it does. I have no complaints with smoking the bacon.
It does just
so it takes it around 4 to 5 hours most of the time to get to temperature. Whereas if you cold smoke it, I think it's like 20. It's like a long time. Yeah.
I don't know much about cold smoking.
Now, there's a story here with bacon, how each of you cook your bacon.
Yeah, that's become a little debate here.
Yep. I get it too done, apparently, so I got kicked out of the kitchen when we're cooking bacon.
Yeah, Jacob won't even eat the bacon if he finds out she cooked it.
Yeah.
It don't matter if it's cooked right or not. If he finds out she cooked it, he won't eat it.
I like my bacon. I like my bacon done.
All right. So I want to clarify something real quick. I like it done, but I don't like it crispy. She likes it crispy. I like it not what I would call chewy, but done.
Yeah, but in order to get Jacob to eat it, I have to let Andy cook it. Because if he sees me in here cooking it, he ain't having no part of it. He said, "Mama gets it too done."
And I seen Jeff asked a question about the cornbread. How did the cornbread turn out?
Okay, so
latest batch.
So this right here, the cornbread from the last video, it turned out absolutely delicious. But what are you doing?
Go away.
Sorry, I got distracted. Sorry. But it turned out really good. The only thing, so what I'm experimenting with is our fresh cornmeal. I can make cornbread all day long with self-rising cornbread. I have my entire life. But this fresh cornmeal, I have been really struggling with. So I found this cookbook. We went to the Smoky Mountains for a few days, and I found this cookbook that has 3 different cornbread recipes in it that are for fresh cornmeal. And so that's what that video was. I was trying out that first recipe in that book, and it was very good. But I really think my problem is my oven was not hot enough because it still didn't get as done as I wanted it to in the middle. But the outside was like almost burnt. So I think next time I try that recipe, I'm going to make my oven. I'm going to put my oven probably on like 475 instead of 425. So it did turn out, as far as flavor though, that fresh cornmeal in cornbread, oh my gosh. Like it is out of this world. Like Andy don't even like cornbread, and he likes
but
that.
I like that.
Yeah, he likes that cornbread.
I don't like cornbread made from, what do you call it?
Like the store cornmeal.
Yeah, the store-bought cornmeal. Yeah. I don't like that.
Jiffy.
Yeah, Jiffy mix or something.
Well, even like the regular cornmeal that I buy, you don't really like that either.
I think it's just because I know I grew it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And you want to tell everybody about your corn?
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
Oh, Lord. We get to talk about corn. We'll be on here for 2 hours tonight. So the corn that we've done so far, it's been a experiment now that's going on for 2 years, I think. And it's really just so far I've crossed up Hickory King and Jimmy Red corn together. And right here,
can you get it off?
Maybe. This is actually some of the prettiest ears that we got out of it. That color right there is kind of what I'm after. But then we've got a red one there that's got some white kernels in it too. And all of these came out of the same field. And so my goal is pretty much is like with the Hickory King, you get a long, skinny ear that's only got 8 rows of corn on it. With the Jimmy Red, you sort of get a short, fat ear. And so I wanted something that was in the middle. I wanted something that was long and fat. And so that was kind of my ultimate goal. And we've got some right nice ears that we're keeping for this year's seed. And I'm just trying to finally get that crossed to where I think it'll probably take, from what I've read, anywhere from 3 to 5 years of doing that to constantly get something. You know, when you plant it, you get the same thing back. And but this year I'm also throwing in a mixture of Trucker's Favorite, I believe what it is. It's yellow corn. So I'm gonna get a little bit of a yellow kernel mixed in with this as well. But
and now from what we've researched too, this red, something else, a trait we wanted to pass on is it has a very high is it protein? It has the higher protein content than the white corn. More than I do. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, protein. And so, like, as far as animal feed, you shouldn't have to feed as much red corn as you would yellow or white corn.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's another thing that we were kind of thinking about, because actually a lot of this corn is animal feed.
Yeah, most of it goes to animal feed, and we just grind a select
it don't take
bit
much.
Of it. Yeah, because you don't need, you don't need much corn at all to grind enough cornmeal.
Right.
But it's more or less just a fun experiment that I've had going on, and I like growing corn. I don't really care nothing about the new varieties of corn, like your GMO corn and your Roundup Ready corn and all that. I mean, that's basically all that gets growed around here on the farms and everything. But I don't know, for some reason, the old heirloom type corn's just striking interest with me. And so that's kind of what and
it's a win-win. Again, we were talking about prepping earlier. Like, this kind of corn, you already got your seeds. Like, you just grow your
that's it too.
Like, you got all the seeds you could want.
So I remember when I was a kid, we used to grow corn, and we grew corn strictly to feed our animals that we had growing up. And we never sold any corn on the market or anything like that. It was just there to feed what we were raising. And but it was a yellow corn variety. As a matter of fact, we grew Roundup Ready corn. I can remember when I was a kid when Roundup Ready was starting to get popular in this area, and we switched from Daddy used to have to cultivate the corn to where he would go and spray it instead of cultivating it. And I can remember us making that transition, and everybody talking about how much easier it was now that it's so much easier to do. And shoot, when I was a kid, I didn't think nothing about it. It just was what it was. And now I think back on it all the time. Of course, we didn't eat it ourselves. It was just fed to our animals. And I've been told that if there is any Roundup residue left on the corn, that once it goes into the animal, it can't transfer to the human. Unless it's through milk from a dairy cow. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what little bit of research I've done. I found out. But anyways, I can remember us making that transition. And like I said, it was just straight yellow corn. Nothing fancy about it at all. But then when I discovered the older types of corn, because I can remember Grandpa growing corn. And I think that's where I kind of got my interest in the corn, is from him, because he grew corn, and like his was always pretty colored up corn, kind of like what we grow. And but I don't have any of those seeds left. I don't know where they went. I don't know, I don't know nothing about it. I just remember being a kid, and when we'd open up an ear of corn, and it'd be just beautiful mixture of colors and everything. And so now that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is get a corn that's just pretty to look at when you open it, but yet it also serves the purposes of what I want to get with it.
Yeah.
And it's not had any kind of crazy chemical sprayed on it.
Yeah. That's the main thing.
Yeah. That's right. Well, like I said, when I was a kid, I didn't think nothing about that. And I imagine Mom and Daddy probably didn't think anything about it either, because they all told us it was all right to do. And
yeah.
I still think they think we're crazy when we're out there in the summertime chopping that corn.
Yeah.
My grandpa, he had his own, I have no idea what it was. His own corn that he grew. I don't, like I said, I don't know the name of it or anything. I just remember going out there for hours, picking it, and whatever got canned, and whatever didn't got dried out for the animals.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad saying that he had the last of his seeds because all of them got rotten or anything when he passed away and whatnot. And he had a bag of that seed, and he was supposed to give it to me at one time, and then must have got lost. And I always said I would love to have that seed, because you can't get that back now. It's gone.
Right.
There is one. My mama actually has 2 ears of the corn that Grandpa grew, and they're like a centerpiece on her kitchen table. And I would like to try to plant that, but at the same time, I'm scared that it's already been, it may not germinate because it's so old.
Yeah.
And, and I'd hate to just waste those 2 ears and not get nothing out of them when I can, they're still there to at least look at now, But it's an odd corn what he used to grow. It looks nothing like what we have. The kernels and everything are differently shaped on it. But it was more like it's like a white and a purple color in it.
Yeah, like pale purple.
Yeah, it's like a pale purple. But anyways, it was like I said, she's got those 2 ears left, and I've been tempted to try to convince her to give them to me to try to plant. But at the same time, like I say, I'd hate to waste that and then it be, it not come up and not do good and then be lost those 2 ears.
Yeah. And you guys just had a project of cleaning out your garage over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been actually working on that building today.
Yeah.
But
we found a lot of cool stuff in there that, some stuff Andy knew was in there, and then some stuff we were finding, we were like, oh my gosh, look at this, and it just, well, you know how things go. We've lived here for 10 years. We've owned the house for 12 years. Right?
No, about 15, I think.
So ever since then, we've been meaning to clean out that building. Well, we just kept piling stuff on top of the stuff that was already in there. Yep. So it turned into a huge project because we've done some remodeling to the house here and there. And so people are like, don't throw that away. You might need it one day. So there's all of this, like, just random stuff in there. But the floor is that's the reason it had to be cleaned out, because the floor is in really bad shape. And that's what Andy's been down there working on today. We're just trying to save it because his papa built that. And I mean, it's a good building if it had a good floor. That's the thing.
The walls, the foundation.
Yeah.
All of that's good. It is going to have a top eventually. But the floor is the worst. The floor is like this.
Yeah, you couldn't really tell in the video how swag the floor is, but it's bad.
I honestly didn't realize it was as bad as it is until I started working on it. And I'm getting there now. Like I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, but at the beginning I was kind of like, is this even worth it? Because like seriously, the floor joist under that building that run across, you could take a hammer and hit them and they would just crumble. I don't know if they're like dry rotten or what, but I've never seen anything like that.
Didn't you say your papa said something about termites one time?
Well, it looks like termite damage, but at the same time, it almost looks like it was rotten and then dried out. Yeah. But I don't know how it would have rotted.
Right. But it's just weird the way the floor broke. But his papa fixed it, so we weren't worrying about it falling in. It was fixed with the sway in the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like, well, now it might fall right now because of the way I've got it fixed where I'm working on it. But beforehand, it wasn't going to fall because it was braced up to the point that it wouldn't fall. But, it's just like you would literally walk in the building and go downhill. Mm-hmm. That's how swagged it was.
You can't sit nothing on the floor. Yeah. We set, what did we set up? It was some old jugs or something we found, and we couldn't get them to sit up.
Because they would just fall over.
They kept rolling.
Yeah, I seen the thing you used to tie tobacco.
Yeah.
When I knew that because that was one of my jobs, and that's when I was in. Me and my dad was in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Actually worked on a tobacco field. And that was after you brought all the tobacco in, then you had to get them on those, whatever the long poles are, and then tie them up, and then they would go and hang them up to dry them out.
Right.
And I remember that thing, but ours seemed like it was bigger though. That the ones that they used.
Right. And I mean, I think I've seen 2 or 3 different versions of that just around here. But yeah, that's probably an old piece right there. I'd like to know just how old that thing is.
Yeah.
People ain't tied tobacco around here. And
oh Lord, tobacco hadn't been done that way around here, and since when I was a kid, I remember very vaguely us having tobacco in a stick barn, and then they moved to the book barns where they had the racks, and now they put it in box barns where they just dump it in a big box and cure it that way. But I would say, but see, that thing would have been used before they had an electric tobacco tire.
That's what I meant, yeah.
So that would have been probably in the
a long time ago,
60s, 50s, something like that. If even longer than that, maybe.
I don't know.
But
probably because Granny Annie tied tobacco when Daddy was a baby, because Daddy would sit there and play while she tied tobacco.
Early 60s.
That was a big thing around here. It was, how much I know, it was huge in a lot of places. That really, everything that's around. There's a big or pretty decent sized city that's below us, Winston-Salem, that was built on tobacco. Baptist Hospital was built by tobacco money. Everything around here is around tobacco, but now there's only about just a couple of farmers left that even still fool with it anymore.
No, there's not many.
But it used to be everywhere. I mean, well, right now, if you ride around anywhere around in the area, there's tobacco barns everywhere. All these old log tobacco barns, they're just everywhere. And it's sad to see because a lot of them are falling now. But that's one reason. Another reason we want to save what we have, here.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said something about thinking about growing some tobacco this year. Because you got to see if any of those seeds come up.
Yeah, I'd like to plant me a few plants. We planted some year before last, just out at my pig pen, like for decorations, and because I thought it was.
He's talking about the seeds that we found.
Yeah, I know, but I'm telling that we did plant it before.
Yeah, we did.
But I ain't gonna plant no field of it. I'd plant me a few.
We planted.
I like tobacco flowers. I think they're pretty.
They are. I think a tobacco flower is one of the prettiest flowers there is.
So just plant them. Like we did pretty good when we did that before. So I would like to plant some of those. I want to see if they even come up. But the only thing with tobacco seeds
is they're tiny.
They are like tinier than a grain of sand. And so
and extremely hard to germinate.
Yeah.
Like you have to have the conditions have to be just right or else they won't germinate.
Yeah, because we were going to plant more than those plants that year. And we only had like 4 come up.
We planted a whole, was it like a
whole tray?
A big seed tray full of them, and we only had like 6 or 7 that actually germinated and come up.
But we couldn't see what we were doing because they were so tiny. So we were just like, we're hopefully getting them in there,
Yeah, I never planted them, but we had the seedling.
Yeah,
I remember there was 2 of us. And there may have been more. There may have been 2 other people on the other side. I'm not sure, but there was just a seat, and you had to feed this thing into
the tobacco planter.
Yeah, we've got one of those.
Oh,
you sit there and you lay the plant in the little fingers, and it would take it down and plant it, and they just kept coming around. We've used those So my grandpa used to plant a row of tomatoes and a row of peas at just about every tobacco field he had. And so we would plant tomatoes with a tobacco setter too. And we'd plant a ton of tomato, like a big, huge tomato row. Now, I never understood why he planted so many of them, but he did. But
you couldn't do that now though, because the deer pressure here is like unreal.
Back then we didn't even have it. Well, there wasn't no such thing as a deer around here back then, and it was. It's been a while back. They introduced them here, and since then they've just got more and more populated, and now you can't do nothing for a deer eating it.
They put the coyotes out to control the deer, and the coyotes is killing everything but the deer.
Yeah, that's the way it seems.
It's about the way it goes.
Yeah, that's right.
Another thing I was going to, because one of the other videos that I watched right after I watched the first one was when you guys went to a festival or something, and you had to sit out there and make biscuits all that time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's some good friends of ours. They started putting that on 4 or 5 years ago.
Probably been 5 years ago.
And yeah, so I'm their biscuit maker. Andy's usually doing field demonstrations with the he's got an old timey corn picker that he does field demonstrations with. But yeah, it's growing every year. It's called the Foothills Farm Festival, and they have it in the fall every year. And it's a lot of fun, though. There was a lot of people there this year.
Yes,
and it was a little overwhelming sometimes.
It was amazing.
But yeah, we just we just make those biscuits, and it's just donations only. If somebody wants to try a homemade biscuit, because people are coming from the cities that are around, and that's where a lot of them are coming from. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever eaten a homemade biscuit, or I hadn't had one since grandma died, or something. So
yeah,
it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of new people, and like I said, it's just a few of us here in the community, and we all just kind of get together. Like the blacksmith there is like one of our real good friends. I don't know all of them. We're just all pretty close in the community, and we all just kind of get together and
see the guy that actually does the show. He's kind of like us. He likes keeping a lot of the old ways. He wants his kids to remember the old ways, and he wants to pass that on to everybody too. And that was the main reason he started that festival, was to just kind of show everybody the way things used to be, and where all of that old timey stuff was such a huge part of our history here in this area. We just kind of wanted to preserve it.
Yeah, I think the way things are today, if we went back to some of the older ways, I think life would be better. I'll put it that way.
I agree 100%.
Yep.
So, what do you guys have planned for your channel other than what you guys are already doing? You got anything big projects coming up? I know it's, the winter time, but
well, I'll have to say that a lot of stuff so most of the stuff that we do around here, we don't even record it. And honestly, when we first started the channel, it was just kind of like we would do some things here and there and record it. And so maybe I'm thinking in the future, we'll actually start showing more of what we do. Because even though we've been on YouTube now for 4 years, this past year is when the channel really started to grow and get some attention. And so, we've got a lot of a lot of names that we recognize on the comments who've been with us for a really long time. And then we've got a ton of new ones that we, are just now coming on. And so I think now that we've got such an interest in everything that we're doing, I'm thinking that maybe we can show a lot more of what we actually do. And take the time to actually film it and show it. Because before, most of the time when we get in from work or whatever, it's like, all right, we got to go hurry up and get this done. And, you don't think about grabbing your camera or whatever to record it.
But people really seem to enjoy like just kind of seeing what we're doing. So like when we got some of these days that we have a lot going on, I just kind of bring the camera along and do little clips just from throughout the day. And I enjoy making those videos, too. So I'm hoping we can do more of those.
And I'm hoping, of course, by the time springtime rolls around, I won't really be running the sawmill much because I just won't have time. But I'm hoping before the winter's over with that we can get a couple more sawmill videos in, because I've got a lot of lumber that I need to saw.
I love that. The shelf, is that the shelf back there?
That's it right there.
Right here.
Yeah. It sure is.
Yeah, I love that cedar wood.
Yeah, I've got a lot of building projects coming up that I'm hoping to get to within the future sometime. I don't know when they'll be, but I got to have the lumber to do them, and you kind of want to let that lumber dry for a little while before you actually use it. And I have built stuff out of green lumber, and it seems to do okay, but I still had rather let it dry a little bit at least anyways before I use it. And
Yeah.
so, we've got a little bit of hopefully of that coming up, and showing a lot more of Megan doing some cooking and stuff like that. And we've had a big request for people wanting to see, they can see the preserving of food anywhere, like canning or whatever, but they want to see what we do with it after it's canned, when we open it up and actually cook with it.
Yeah.
And we've had a big request for that.
So my goal is to show more of that. I guess because, well, it's like I've told Andy, I said, I guess I don't think about doing it because a lot of the things, that's the beautiful thing about canned food is like you get it out and you warm it up. Like a lot of times that's what I love about having canned food is it's so convenient.
Yeah.
But I do make a lot of other little recipes and stuff using my canned food. So I want to hopefully incorporate some of that. Like I said, it's just not something that I guess I necessarily think about. Like my canned pork, I make tacos with the canned pork. That's probably my favorite thing to do with it. And all I have to do though is open up the jar, put it in my pan, put a little seasoning in it, and warm it up, and like
ready to go.
We got 10-minute tacos.
That's the original fast food.
Yeah. So even though it's so much work ahead of time, it's so worth it. Like to just walk to my basement and there it is. So
yeah. And I've actually on my lives, because I usually just do a whatever live on Monday where it's just me and Jeff talking about stuff, and I've shown your videos on the live for people to watch.
Really?
And yeah, talking about the different canning and stuff like that, because the majority it's a prepping channel, even though I don't call it a prepping channel, but and we talk about preserving food and stuff and all that, and about the lard and other things, like you said, 1 year you'll do pickles and then next year you won't do pickles because something similar to that.
Yeah, that's like, well, my 14-day pickles are the biggest ones because they get, the longer they sit, the better they get. And usually I make like a huge crock full of those 14-day pickles, and that'll be like 50 jars of pickles, and that'll be plenty enough of those certain kind of pickles to last us for 2 years. So I only make those like every 2 years. Like I can enough sausage usually lasts us for 2 years. Like I try to play those numbers in my head, like, and do a rough guesstimate of what I need. And but a lot of stuff I try to do that way every year I'm not killing myself, like I gotta do this, like I kind of get to skip around a little bit.
Yeah.
And we sort of base our planting around that way too, just like we had a ton of green beans left over from year before last. So this past summer we didn't plant a lot of green beans. We planted just enough that we was able to eat some fresh ones, and you still canned a few, didn't you? Yeah, we still had enough to can, but it wasn't nothing like what we've planted in the past. And so that's kind of, what we're going to plant in the garden each year kind of bases off of what's still left that's canned.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah, I plan on not planting any cucumbers this year. Although I like the fresh cucumber, but if anything, I'm gonna put it in a bucket or something. Because I had so many cucumbers. I put them in my front yard where the main road is and everything. I put it out there for free, and neighbors come by and pick what they want. But there were so many cucumbers. I think everybody was sick of cucumbers because they stayed out there too long.
Yeah.
I had so many cucumbers that up toward my back door, I have another raised bed, and I had them stacked up there for one purpose. I have a raccoon that's trying to get to my rabbits.
Oh no!
So we can't do anything in city limits, if you know what I mean. So I took a cucumber and smacked him upside the head the last time he tried to get into my cages.
Pretty good.
It comes in handy if you can't eat them all.
Oh my
Growing
God.
weapons.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But speaking of raised beds, that's something else I'd like to do is maybe make a couple more raised beds. I'd like to have, I think, 2 more. But
yeah, I love them raised beds because for years we never grew in raised beds, and he decided to make one off of at the time it was our stationary chicken coop, and we loved that one so much. He made a few more, and then last year he made a few more, and I was like, please make some more.
Yeah, it's nice having all that right there. The only complaint I've got with raised beds is the water. Like you have to water them
a lot of water.
In-ground gardens don't do that, at least not here anyways. But that's another thing is, see, I like to make our raised beds out of oak or white oak lumber, and because white oak don't tend to rot near as bad as anything else. And well, I got to find a white oak log, and then I got to have time to actually mill the log up into the lumber. So, it's just kind of like one of those things where you want to, but then actually getting to do it is 2 different things.
Right. Yeah.
We have a lot of want tos around here.
In your chicken coop, I know my friend Jeff, he's wanting to get chickens, and I said, well, why don't you just make one chicken tractor like something like you guys have, to where you can just move it around the yard.
Yeah, I want to make a smaller one than what we have.
We used to have a lot more egg chickens than we do now. So now the big building that we have on wheels is like overkill. After doing the math, having that many chickens versus how many eggs we were selling, it just really wasn't worth having that many chickens, to be honest with you. So the market around here, everybody and their brothers got chickens. It's really hard to get rid of eggs. So so that building now is just a little bit too big. We want to build something on a little smaller scale, but we do like moving them around because they actually stay in our pasture, like our cow and horse pasture, and we just move them around all the time, and that's just our fertilizer for our grass.
Oh yeah.
And they, scratch out the cow pies and stuff like that, and they say it helps from your cows, like getting parasites and things like that, which we have not had an issue with. Knock on wood, but
yeah, you better knock on wood.
But we do keep them. We in the summertime, and once it starts warming up, we move them once a week. But right now, where it's winter and the grass is dormant, we're just moving them every 2 weeks. But we're getting pretty dark yolks even this time of year, and I think it has something to do with them still being mobile and moving to the different spots and still having a little to eat anyway. So, because I know we've got some friends that we had some of their eggs not long ago, and they were pale, but their chickens stay in a chicken coop. So, but this time of year, their eggs get pale, which all it is there ain't nothing wrong with the eggs. It's just what the chickens eat and the vitamins that are able to be passed to the eggs. But that's one thing I noticed anyway.
Well, I'll have to say that if I didn't know any better, a stationary coop would be fine. Like if that's all I had and that's what I had to have, that would be completely fine. But if somebody has the option to move chickens around, there's no way I would have a stationary coop, because stationary coops get so nasty. I mean, it's constant maintenance to keep some type of wood chips or something. It was okay when we
kept all them wood chips in there, but we just had to constantly
do it.
Wood chips, yeah.
But I like being able to move the chickens around big time, because they're never in mud. They don't stay in one place long enough to scratch it up and destroy it. So, you get recovery pretty fast after you move them. And honestly, in my opinion, I think the eggs taste better because they constantly have that dark yolk, and
they get really dark.
They're really rich. Yeah. And once the green grass comes out, they really are dark. But
what's really fun though is when the cows decide they want to play and they run through the netting, and then you walk down there and you got chickens running here and there and everywhere. That's real fun. And the cow's in there and you got to figure out how to get the cow out.
For whatever reason, I guess it was last year, we had a calf that we was raising up for beef, and that calf, for some reason or another, was obsessed with tearing that net down and getting in there and playing with the waters. She would roll the waters down the hill and just, I mean, like they were a ball or something. And I was so glad when that cow was gone. But she was annoying, man. We hadn't really had one since then to do it, unless we had a power issue on the net.
Yeah.
Then one of them may have get in the net, but that calf, man, it didn't matter if you had power on that net or not. She was tearing it down, and she was going in there and playing with those waters.
Toys.
Yeah, that's the way she acted.
Now, you said that different types of beef that you're raising, and you said you're going to stick with the Jersey ones.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Jerseys, I had always heard for years that, well, they would just say milk cow beef. So, I guess that would include Holsteins, Jerseys, Guernseys, all of that. But I'd always heard from a lot of people that was a lot better beef than a beef cow, like a Black Angus or something. But all we'd ever had was Black Angus calves that we raised out. And so when we got
the first
Belle,
milk cow, yeah,
right,
yeah,
when we got
she already
Belle,
had a calf with her.
Yeah, and that's the calf I'm talking about that actually was.
I'm so glad to see that thing.
The one that was running through the chicken net. So she was actually the first Jersey beef we had ever ate, and it's amazing. I can't explain to you the difference. You wouldn't think there would be that big a difference between beef, but
the texture is different.
Yeah, it's tender.
Even the texture of the fat. I don't know it. I don't know how to explain it, but it's all like the texture is different in a good way. And I had a good friend that was from upstate New York, and when she found out I got that Jersey cow, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to have Jersey beef now, and it's going to be the best thing ever. I've not had good beef since I come to North Carolina," and all this, like, and so I see what she was talking about now.
Yep. It is. It's a difference. Your burgers are even different. I mean, everything's just got like a different flow. No, and I'm not saying that Black Angus is not good.
Yeah, because that's what we've eaten for years, and it's delicious too. It's just texture. I don't know.
It's different. Yeah, and in our opinion, it's different in a better way.
And we like it, and your mom and daddy seem to like it, right?
Yeah, daddy and mama both love it.
Yeah,
so we ended up raising up 2 last year, and my mama and my sister split one, and then we split one with one of my cousins, and
we're all family here. If you can.
Yeah. And so, anyways, I mean, we've had a ton of compliments talking about how good that beef is, and I mean, which it was pretty obvious in that video the other day how yellow the fat is.
Yeah.
So actually, the steers that we have right now that we're raising up, we've got 2 Jersey steers and a Holstein steer. Like, we were looking for Jersey steers. So they're going to grow way slower, though, than an Angus. So that's the downfall. You're going to be feeding them longer, and you're not going to get as much meat from them, because they're not beefy cows. But we said we wanted to do another Jersey. So, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got in the mind, because when they go to the grocery store, there's that red piece of meat and stuff, and they don't know what an actual, I should say, a cow raised right, not pumped full of whatever chemicals, and then the meat you get at the store is already pumped with other stuff to make it look.
That's right.
They pump it with stuff just to have it that red color.
Yeah, and to make it look, or make it weigh more. Is that what we heard? We were listening to a documentary, and
I know they do something to make
it full of water and to make it weigh more.
They may do that too, but it's just like with the hams. We watched a thing on a documentary the other night talking about how, ham's not supposed to be pink. like the hams you buy in the store, like your sliced ham, sandwich ham, and all of that, it's not supposed to be pink. And that's done that way just because Americans, for whatever reason, have this idea that fresh ham is supposed to be pink. And it's not, it's supposed to have like a
brown.
It would be brown.
Brownish, yeah.
Pigs. Well, like in the cartoons and stuff, pigs are always pink.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if that's where it came from or not.
I don't know either. I don't know where this here idea of everything came from, but it's, when you take real food versus what you buy in the store, they're not the same thing.
Oh no.
And I've really got to the point where I don't like eating anything out of the store, just because when you've eaten good food for so long and you go to the store and buy it, you're going to be disappointed first off. And half the time, like, you can look at the texture of something or the color and it's just not right. But I don't know. We haven't eaten a piece of meat out of the store in probably years. Yeah, it's been a while.
But I mean, and if you can't, raise it yourself, a lot of people seem to be getting into this, especially like with the chickens, like the broilers and stuff. So I always try to tell people, like, maybe you can
find somebody in your neighborhood.
And they may exchange work for chickens. Like, I know if people come help me with my chickens, like, I'm sending you home with some chickens, if you know what I'm saying, like exchanging, if you can't, because unfortunately they are pricey. Like, even like what we have to charge for ours, we don't really make hardly a profit at all. It's just pretty much to cover the feed and the ice and the labor and all of that. It don't even really cover the labor, but it's still pricey because you can go to Walmart and get a chicken for 99 cents a pound, and that's what people will say. But then I'm like, well, if you come help me with these chickens, I will teach you how to do it and I will send you home with chickens.
And also talking about it being pricey though, one thing that you can look at is I always kind of compare it to something, a person will go buy cheap food in an instant, but yet they'll go buy the best tickets to a baseball game or whatever that they can get. So why, in my opinion, if you're going to buy the best tickets to some kind of game or a show or whatever that you can get, why in the world would you not buy the best food that you can buy either? But people don't think like that.
Yeah. Walmart, I hate to pick on Walmart all the time, but it's too easy.
Oh, it's a good one to pick on.
Like their tubes of ground beef.
Right.
And the reason why people get so sick from eating that is because it comes from hundreds of cows.
That's right.
All together. And if one of those cows has something, then it spreads to all that meat in that fancy little tube that they can buy so cheap.
And God knows where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's from all over the world, probably China or who knows where.
Yeah.
That's what don't make any sense to me is we import a lot of beef, but we also export a lot of beef. And I'm like, why don't we just keep our beef? Like, why don't we just keep it here instead of bringing it in and then sending it out?
That's the same thing with our rice. We produce a lot of rice, but it doesn't stay here. It's all exported because they make more money from it.
It doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, too, and I'm not knocking the big beef farmers because we have friends who are big beef farmers. And so I don't want to knock them too bad because they're just doing the best they can with the way they've been taught to do it. But, you can pass by some of these places like that. And when you pass by a farm and smell a stinky smell, something's not right there.
Mind you end up when you go by.
There's one just not far at all from us. And in the middle of summer, you can't stand to drive by that place. It stinks so bad. And them cows are out there, absolutely no grass at all. And they're just in this, there'll be 50 to 100 cattle in just this little feed lot. standing knee deep in mud, and I'm just there's no telling to keep them cows healthy in that situation. There's no telling what they have to keep them shot up with and pumped up with to do that.
Right.
Whereas you don't have to do that if you keep cows out here on grass.
Yeah, and that's I had got a pig where I used to live, and it wasn't a big area. It was mainly an acre altogether. And they said, "Oh, you can't have a pig there because it'll stink so bad." And pigs are awful; they stink really bad. And I had it wasn't a very big pen or anything, but he was like it was an old canal, and the other end of the canal had water, and I had pinned him up, and I used pallets and dug them into the ground, which I didn't. I learned how strong pigs are when he stuck his nose up there and slung the thing up in the air. Yeah. But after I got him all figured out, you would never even know I had a pig in, behind the house, and it was pretty close to the house, and never smelled a pig back there or anything.
That's awesome.
And the people says, well, why doesn't it stink? I said, well, he's got room to go around and eat up whatever's on the ground and stuff, and they're not sitting in one little cube,
right?
In their poop.
That's right. That's right.
So it's my family and them had a big pig farm, and they were the type where the pigs would be in a building on concrete in a little bitty stall.
Yeah, they were like a commercial pig farmers.
And man, I'm telling you, you could see some nasty stuff back over there back in the day.
I bet.
Which they're not in business anymore now. The old man's passed away, and things have just kind of went downhill. But they
but that's what they sent to market for people's pork.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of sick pigs in there that would just be shipped right on to the the processing plant.
It's the same way with cows. As long as they can stand up, they're going to be grocery store beef somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but it's like our pigs here. One thing that, I mean, it took us a few years to figure out, but our land here is, some parts of it are extremely steep. And back here behind the house, there's this mountainside that it's too steep to do anything with. Well, YouTube inspired us to see about putting the pigs just out on that mountainside to see how they would do. And they have thrived. They have cleared out the underbrush. People talk about how good that goats clear out stuff.
Oh, a pig does.
These pigs, I'm gonna tell you, like it looks like somebody went through there with a mulcher. And but on that steep land, they have like dug them out little terraces all the way up through there. And that's something, I mean, we took an unusable part, what we thought was unusable, and we put those pigs on it, and I mean, I guess technically they made it usable.
Yeah, they made it usable to them.
Yeah.
They, and we hadn't had a stinky pig place since then.
Yeah.
Before that, we just kept them, which the reason we done the way we done is because that's the way everybody else done around here. You just had a little bitty pig lot, and, you'd raise you 5 or 6 pigs in there, and we just thought it was okay for a pig to stink. We didn't know no better. And they sometimes during the hottest, most humid days of the summer would get pretty raunchy. And that was one thing that we actually picked up off of YouTube was keeping them out in the woods and letting them have room to roam. And we're going to try to build another pasture this winter before we get our new pigs.
To let that one rest.
To let the one that they've been in now rest, and let them go onto a new piece of ground. But that's
keep rotating it.
Yeah, because if not, the bad thing about pigs is if you keep putting it on, they'll kill every tree that's on it. If you keep putting pigs year after year, they'll eventually kill all the trees. So,
and they've been on this one now for 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's time we do something. But they, YouTube's taught us a lot.
Yeah.
We really have. Like, we've learned a lot off of YouTube.
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot off of comments. I'll make a video and
absolutely.
I'll get all kinds of comments, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we've learned a lot from that same thing as well. Like, we'll be reading a lot. Like, why didn't we think of that? That's such a good idea.
And then you have the know-it-alls that never done it before, but they know how to do it.
Yep, know all about it.
Right, that's right.
Well, we kind of went a little over, but that's okay.
An hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
doesn't feel that long.
I want to thank you guys for jumping up here for an hour. And if anybody, let me go ahead and put the link in case nobody seen it yet.
Well, we appreciate you asking us to come on. I'm sorry it took me so long.
Oh,
winter is all like, I know it's crazy, but during the hog time, it is probably busier than garden time. It is so crazy sometimes. Yeah,
I seen that you guys are busy, and I figure I'll just wait until after the holidays comes around. But I want to thank you guys for coming up here and letting everybody get to know you. Make sure everybody heads over there and watch your videos.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Hope everybody enjoyed it tonight.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.